Tuesday edition of the Sports Cage. Thanks for coming along on the ride. So right off the bat, here on this Tuesday for Saskatchewan Lotteries, main fundraiser for sport, culture, and recreation in our province of Saskatchewan. If you usually watch us on YouTube and the stream, chikai. We got some technical difficulties. We will be back up there. Seems to be a trend on YouTube lately and different things video-wise. So as soon as we get that up, we'll let you know. The boys are working hard. We're on the radio. We're on the stream. We're all good. We got 3 hours for you. Rider updates coming up. Dave Thomas and our training camp report. He's going to be with us here momentarily. We're going to talk some NHL and Memorial Cup. Regina Red Sox head coach is going to come in hour one as well. Hour two, we go more with Dave from camp and the Riders. Arash Madani comes a little bit later today in hour two. Arash is around the bottom of the hour. He's been a busy guy. Hour three, Glen Suitor. You know the drill with Suits coming in. A pleasure for the first hour and a treat. Don Hewitt is with me. The professor is in to talk about Riders. So if you got any questions for Don, for Dave, for Glenn, Arash.
Or for Barney.
Or for, me. Mine are all simple. It's like yesterday. You didn't listen to the show yesterday, but I got the Sports Cage listeners came through because I had no idea what was taking the head off bunnies and leaving them on my front lawn in the Northwest. Yeah, so it's cat. There's probably 30 people that said it's cats.
Cats taking heads off bunnies?
Yeah. Guess that's how they hunt. Guess that's how they hunt.
I haven't heard that.
It's an informational program here. What we're doing.
But those rabbits are bigger than cats.
But these are little ones.
Oh, okay.
These were little ones. Yeah, no. So 936-6262 Prairie Land Rentals text line. We love when you participate in the show. If nothing else, just let us know where you're listening from. We like getting those in as well. Probably lots of people, guys and girls, still seeding out there. Prairie Land Rentals, anything from power tools, gardening tools, generators, welding. You get your big items like skid steers that they can deliver. They got it all. You deal with the owner at 600 Albert Street, and since 1986, Prairie Land Rentals has been around. What's your recap after the first preseason game in Winnipeg? I don't know. Did you listen to it on the radio? I listened to it on the radio.
Did. I listened to it on the radio. I watched it in the stream. I've often thought, Barney, the first preseason game for any CFL team is like a chessboard run amok because there's so many moving parts for both coaching staffs. I don't know how the coaches keep their heads on their shoulders with all the players in and out and the plays that they're trying. Yeah. We do know this in Rough Rider land in preseason time. When the Rough Riders win a preseason game, it has meaning. It's positive. But when they lose a preseason game, it means nothing.
Exactly.
So we know that. But in reality, it means nothing. I mean, Montreal got bombed. Edmonton got bombed.
Calgary.
People are saying we scored no touchdowns. Folks, who cares? It was the first preseason game. It means diddly squat. And I enjoyed listening to Dave and Luke, though, because I got a better idea of what was going on in that game with Dave and Luke than I did watching the stream later.
I heard the stream had some issues, too.
Well, it was so tight.
Yeah.
If you wanted to see the center's ass, fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
But, couldn't see a darn thing on there. Like, their photography was nowhere near as good as, like, for example, I watched a little bit of the BC Calgary game out in Victoria. It was good.
Yeah.
And they'll do a good job this week against Winnipeg here. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, it's like he had no idea what was going on in the secondary or the receiving core.
Tight. It's like they had some, grade 4 and 5 students. You're putting in some hours.
What would you expect from Winnipeg? Of course, you're going to get a schlunky product from the Blue Bombers, right?
Oh, here we go. We're digging. Let's go out on the Western Pizza guest hotline. Perfect night for Western Pizza, like it always is. The Greek favorites you like, and all the pizza with the generous amount of toppings. Dave Thomas It's still training camp reports for the Red Zone Sports Bar behind the Saskatoon Travelodge. Dave, over the telephone today here, you're with the professor, as you can hear. Is fair to say the Winnipeg, what did you call it, a schlunky product?
Well, it was a schlunky video product, yes. And the play-by-play team wasn't as good as what we're used to here.
No, Dave, listen to that. What's your comments on that, Dave? Dave's not there. We got nobody now. We got no stream.
Boy, he had no comment.
Dave. Speaking of schlunky products, you jinxed us.
Dave was commentless.
The sheriff is. We're looking, trading him to Winnipeg. He's having troubles over there. He'll be with us right away. First off, we talked about this yesterday. Were you surprised they kept Harrison that long?
I was.
On the road?
I would say, we've got the thumbs up. But we're no longer schlunky here, Barney. I was surprised. I was surprised he even played. But, the coach knows best, and he wanted him to have some reps with some receivers and whatnot. And I think what happens is Harris is pounding on the coach's door 24/7. I want to play. That's just his nature. So probably the coach decided it might not be a bad idea and gave in a little bit to the quarterback. I don't know.
I was really surprised they played him on the road. Then I was surprised that he played into the first quarter, and I don't think he got a few in the second there, but that he played that much. All right, we paid our bills. We got our prepaid phone card working. Dave is on the Western Pizza guest hotline. David, you're there. So, hey, it's live radio. It's how it goes. How was things today? Rough Rider training camp at Mosaic Stadium, Dave.
Oh, I thought this was the number to call in for the country cookout. I must have the wrong place. No, you know what? Kidding aside, it was a perfect day not to be spraying in the fields. I'll tell you that right now. It was gusting and blustery all the way around Mosaic Stadium. It was sunny. It was warm. So it was a good day to put the punters to the test. And so they did do that in a great deal and great capacity today. Also, the offense and defense squared off against one another. And we also learned some injury news as well today.
Yeah, go ahead. I mean, the Rough Riders until today, I believe, Dave, it's Don here, didn't say anything about the extent of Sean McEwen's injury. So what did they say today?
Well, Coach Corey Mace came out and was asked point blank. We've asked him a number of times kind of the extent of the injury. You knew it was a serious injury when he really didn't want to talk about it because he is so invested in his players and his family atmosphere that you can tell when there's some bad news that he doesn't always come out and say it right away until everything is I's dotted, T's crossed. But we do have some audio to hear it straight from the coach's mouth.
He ended up, dealing with an ACL deal, so it's unfortunate. But he had a healthy surgery yesterday. Checking in, I think I caught him right in the recovery room, so I don't know if the meds totally wore off yet. So he said it was good.
ACL.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting because you've got the ACL, so he's had the surgery. You've also got a torn bicep by Gagnon. Has he already had the surgery, Dave?
It doesn't sound like he's going to need or require surgery. Okay. It's not going to shorten the time that recovery will be, but it sounds like he will be able to avoid surgery on that one.
So he could be back when? 1st of October, or is there any timeline for Gagnon?
No timeline. From what I've been told is that it's a very individual recovery time, so it can vary from, it could be October, it could be November, it could be season ending. So they haven't ruled him out for the season just yet, but they definitely aren't looking to him anytime soon.
I'm just thinking about what the legendary Don Matthews used to say, and you guys remember Don Matthews. I think, what is he, number 2 to wins to Wally Bono, I believe, in the CFL. And, he always used to say, I will never have physical training camps. I will never have physical practices, but I'll have very physical games. And it seemed like when, and just watching your work, Dave, up in Saskatoon, it seemed like when Mace was talking about Gagnon, he made sort of a little comment, we have to be a little bit more careful. Now, I'm not blaming the drills and what they're doing necessarily at all on these two injuries, but I am saying that they've had some problems over a number of years now, getting out of training camp, not losing starters. Do you think there's any possibility that Coach Mace might think about maybe being a little less physical in practice, or is that wrong that they even need to be less physical in practice?
As far as from what I can tell, now trust me, I don't want to be anywhere near the physicality of the stuff that they do on the field. I'm quite happy with my seat in the stands. But
yeah.
There is so much, there is competition, there is pride, there is, you name the emotion and the adjective when it comes to the Roughriders right now in camp, because they're dialed in, right? And they want to make sure that they're ready, they're right, and they're also competing, because Coach Mace has been pretty blunt along the lines of saying you have to earn a spot still. Like, yeah, we may have a continuity when it comes to the roster. You still need to earn that spot. So I would suggest that when he said we had to be smart in that instance, is that, the players have to dial back a little bit. Again, they're not exceedingly physical drills. Like, they're normally what we saw, like year over year, they're very much the same thing. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, the athletes themselves need to police it themselves so that they're not hurting one another. Like, there's a number of times where you've heard it over your career as well, right? Get up, get up, get up, stay up, stay up, stay up is the communication given to players when they're running with the football, so on and so forth. And there's a number of times that stops and has to be reiterated by the coaching staff.
The one thing, and talking to Dan Farthing last year, I'm just going to go out on a limb here. It's something, though, athletes nowadays. I remember last year when I was talking to Dan Farthing, I said, what's with the Achilles injuries? Like the last 10, 15 years. It's almost like we see more Achilles injuries than we ever have. Remember covering sports back in the day? It wasn't Achilles. Yeah, there was broken bones and there was different things. And then, the bicep. It's too bad I don't have Harry coming on this week, because he's torn biceps twice. So I remember reading it up. If you need surgery, you're definitely kaput for the season. So this, with Dave saying not going to need surgery, now it can be anything. Like, it could be long, it could be. I've luckily, knock on wood, never torn a bicep. I feel like a lot of times, though, it's just how the training is maybe different this, in this day and age. The supplements. There's a lot of things. Yeah, these guys can get cut quick. They can put things in their body. They can build strength. Is that maybe weakening some tendons, some different things like that?
Point.
You never know. Back in the day, it was like some darts and a Pilsner, and get some training in, and like Glen Suitor's coming on later. I don't know. It seems different, and injuries. I think it's unfortunate. You're starting to see it at a younger age too, with a lot of kids, and then obviously with kids, concussions are the big thing. Those Guardian caps that they're wearing. My kids asked me the other day, like, why do they all have those on? Like, well, protecting the head, right? Like, it makes sense. So maybe there's something to do with how they train, what they're putting in their bodies, that now the muscles or the tendons are more prone to have injury. I don't know. I'm just throwing that out there. I'm not a doctor. I wish I was. What about today at practice, Dave, on the field? Windy. What would you do? The short passes, I would suspect. Maybe some long passes down fan. Those are always tough to throw. What did you see from there? And then did Coach Mace talk about it at all?
Yeah, so basically, in a nutshell, offensively, Trevor Harris threw and connected on a very nice ball to Dante Myers. There was a nice reception that was kind of made over the middle by Thomas Bertrand-Houdon, where you could see that they were going ahead and actually setting up kind of a screenplay in front of them. That looked very promising defensively. There were some players that made some great stops, including the 6th-round draft pick of the Saskatchewan Roughriders in Gideon Auger. He made a great interception late in the period today. So both sides of the ball went ahead and did that. Special teams, though, was a big focus today. Punters were punting the ball over and over and over again. And again, whether it was Joe Couch, he would hammer and get that ball down the field real quick. But then also right away, Bailey Flint would come back and he'd hammer one. But then in the next rep, it was inconsistent at best is the way I would describe it, because they were trying to hammer the ball into the wind and place it where they wanted, and it wasn't going entirely, like there wasn't an outright winner, if you will. But I guess that leads to Coach Mace saying right at the end of practice that when it comes to the remainder of the week, there is a game on Friday, but there's a ton of things that need to be decided first.
You know, we've been very straightforward from the first day of camp, that every group is in competition, and there's still some very tight battles at multiple groups. So we'll have guys out there that are going to be competing their tails off to get those spots.
And then Coach Mace, I see here, he talks about how do you balance evaluation and preparation for the rest of the week?
Yeah, a little bit of both. I mean, there'll be a mix of, just like last week, you know, I thought we had a healthy mix of some starters and some young guys. You know, it'll be the same. You know, whoever's going to be out there, the preparation is executing the expectations of what we look for in all phases of the football. So, you know, regardless of who it is or what quarter it's in, who's in there, we're evaluating the exact same thing. You got a job to do, and we want to see you do it.
Yeah. What do you get a gauge at all? I know we're only sitting in Tuesday. Do you get a gauge at all of how many vets will play at home this weekend?
See, and I keep fluctuating in my analysis because I keep thinking, okay, they're going to rest. They're going to give the starters maybe a series or two, but then they're going to take them off the field so that they can rest, recuperate, and be ready to go for week one. But then you start to see some battles that are happening on the field, like Hava Baldonado is taking reps at defensive end in the absence of Shane Ray, but then the next thing you know, all of a sudden jumping in is Aaron Patrick. So you wonder, okay, maybe they're going to get a little longer look than what we had anticipated. I think for Trevor Harris, I would be surprised if he plays anything more than a quarter. But again, Coach Mace has got the master plan, and he's done it well so far. So who am I to question or probably even guess at this point?
Anybody not on the field of note today?
Well, offensive lineman Eric Anderson hasn't practiced in Regina yet. Of course, he was the draft pick of the Saskatchewan Roughriders, second rounder. He's got a hip injury, so he's nursing that. Charbel DeBeer, we saw up in Saskatoon, left the field in the midst of a workout after seemingly tweaking his knee, and that seems to be the instance. They're going ahead and doing more imaging on him to see whether or not it's a substantial knee injury like he suffered last year or just a tweak, so that is ongoing. Nelson Lacombo didn't practice for a second day in a row. He was on the sideline, though, working out. Alex Governor, the defensive lineman, he didn't practice today. Demir Thurman had a hat on, as did Shane Ray. So those are the key guys that weren't suited up for practice today.
Now, you mentioned earlier, Dave, Gideon O'Shea, is that how you say it last name, O'Shea? The corner from the Dinosaurs that the Riders picked, you said in the 6th round. I think that's right. Now, people in Calgary have told me what an athletic freak he actually is. He's just has some rawness to him, but he's got really long arms. He's got great speed. He's got good hips. Is he getting any better in practice, or talk about him? Because people in Calgary said that they felt Saskatchewan might have gotten a sleeper pick.
Oh, you're right. 6th round, 52nd overall. The Riders, from what I understand, like what they see. Again, a big body, 6'2", 189 pounds. And he knows the Canadian game, so that puts him ahead of the American defensive backs that are new and into the system, I would suggest. And, yeah, he does seem to progressively get better through camp. And today his interception was just a nice read. He went up, he made a play, saw an underneath play developing, read Jack Cohn's eyes, stepped in front of the receiver and made the pick. So he continued. Again, you're right. He absolutely continues to impress and improve, which I think are the two keys that you want from a 6th-round draft pick that maybe Jeremy O'Day found another steal with in 2025.
Good question. Good insight, Dave. All right. Know you got to get going here. We'll hopefully catch up with you in hour 2 for more of the training camp report. Maybe an hour or 2. We'll go over Tommy Stevens and that interview that you had with him.
Very interesting insight coming up from him for sure. I look forward to it. Talk to you then.
Okay. See you, Dave. Dave Thomas, voice of the Saskatchewan Roughriders, and our Rough Rider Training Camp Report, brought to you by the Red Zone Sports Bar, right behind the Saskatoon Travel Lodge. If you've been waiting, we had some text messages come in. If you've been Roscoe, we're back on YouTube. Thanks to Curtis and Colson. Thanks. They got everything rolling here. You see how quick he came in? It's like
there's outstanding speed. I thought it was about a 4.5.
It's like I'm sure if something goes wrong with what's the space station, Mir, that's how quick it gets done. Yeah. Curtis, good job. We're back on YouTube. We're always on the radio and the home of the Saskatchewan Roughriders, 620 CKRM. Hey, welcome back. If you're waiting to see us on YouTube, I think we're there. Colson. The Professor Don Hewitt is with me for the first hour today. We were talking to Dave Thomas and talking Riders. What was I going to... I was going to say that the game here, home game, I don't know. So Trevor Harris, another quarter, but because the turnaround is pretty tight to game one. Thursday? Mm-hmm. So that's the one thing. I'm like, yeah, rust, let them play. But then you can't, the old adage with kids too, right? You can't keep them in bubble wrap all the time. You got to let them go.
Oh, he definitely has to play in the second exhibition game. There's no doubt about that because he has to get into game speed with his receivers. Uh-huh. And I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, it's a whole different ballgame, the first preseason game to the second. We already talked about the first where we were surprised. And I thought I was actually surprised he played. But I would almost expect that Trevor Harris will play the first half. I think that's very possible.
A full half, you think?
I think so for the game this weekend against Winnipeg, yes, because you made the point just now, Barney. It's a quick turnaround to the Ottawa game to start the regular season, and he has to get into good form. So I'm not saying, I don't know if he's going to play the first half, but it wouldn't surprise me if he plays most of the first half for sure.
Yeah, I'm leaning the other way a bit. I'm thinking they maybe go couple series and then take him out. But yeah, I guess we don't know what exactly happened.
Jake Cohen is an interesting, sort of issue in all of this because I thought he threw a few good balls. One that probably should have completed. He didn't look bad in Winnipeg, although he's against the third and fourth stringers, of course, by the time he got into that ball game.
Did the Schlunky work there? Did they follow the actual pass? You can see it?
Yeah, that's exactly a good point. But, do they still want to see Jake, or is it set? To me, it's set who the three quarterbacks are going to be that are dressed. Tommy Stevens isn't going anywhere because of short yardage. We know Jake Mayer is their backup quarterback, and he's an interesting quarterback to discuss if we ever have time. And we know who the starter is. So it's possible that maybe that Cohen won't even play, that he's heading to the practice roster. He does seem to have promise, but as I've said to a few people who have asked me about it, it's nothing against him necessarily, but it just seems set to their
numbers game.
Top. Exactly. It's a numbers game who the top three are going to be.
I wonder though if anyone else wants to pluck him and bring him in. Yeah. There isn't a ton of tape on him. That's a thing, But maybe if there was guys here last year that have gone elsewhere, or anybody knows him from his previous work. The Tommy Stevens thing, and like we said, with Dave, is going to come on in hour 2. And we got an interview with Tommy Stevens. And when I interviewed him, when we signed him this winter, he wants to show that he can throw the ball.
Yeah, of course.
Played at a big school. Played in a good conference, which means you're practicing against really good players. So the guy can throw the ball. He's kind of just been pigeonholed now into this short yardage, which, hey, if that's what's getting you a check and a job right now, ride it. But when he gets a chance to sling it, are we maybe, I don't know, are we maybe sitting on something that we don't know?
It's interesting how if you're really good at something, even in a job, for example, if you're really good at something, you can get pigeonholed because they'll say, well, we can't move you up into this position because you're so good at this third down yardage situation. And I think he was stopped once last year, only once. He's like Mr. Automatic. He's the best in the league at short yardage. And I could never figure out why they were using Shea Patterson last year because he was so light. But they've solved that problem. They got a 240-pound quarterback now that's going to get that first down. He could get pigeonholed. It may not be fair. I'm sure he's chomping at the bit to show what he can do. It's interesting, too, on Jake Mayer. They'll say, well, Trevor Harris, I think he's 39 or around now. whenever it is, it's close. And of course, the critics will say, well, he's 39. Yeah, he's going to get hurt. But on the other side of the coin, and he's got a body of a 25-year-old, I might say, if you took a look at him in training camp. I mean, the man's a gym rat. But you know that Jake Maier has never in his entire career missed a start because of injury. He got benched a few times in Calgary because he had no defense. But he's never, ever been injured. So they've definitely got a healthy quarterback there.
So some text messages coming in on the Prairie Land Rentals text line, people saying don't play Harris more than a quarter. That's kind of where I think it will go. I don't know what the right move is. Like Don says, you maybe could see him for a half. The other thing too is offensive line. So are you gonna put your starters in, because they got to get in the rhythm of protection, which leads to the passing game, the timing routes, everything. Then the running route. Like there's a lot of, speaking of the chess game, like we talked about earlier, it's like the chess game within. It's not just street ball or playing in the old park. There's so many moving parts that have to work together.
That's right.
So, with Hardrick not playing last week at all.
Tate didn't play, I don't believe, did he?
I don't think so.
Brammer didn't get much.
So is that where you see more of the starting group for a half, but then they're turning it around quickly to Ottawa on Thursday. I
would say, Barney, that there's so much timing in an offensive line and so much sync and tight execution, and maybe we forget about how pivotal that is. But I'll probably go back to the same comment I made about Trevor Harris. I would suspect the starting O-line would play close to a half for that reason, but maybe not as much as Harris. But
could see it.
And another reason too is when Trevor Harris is in the game, you want a decent offensive line in front of him. You don't want Trevor Harris with the backup's offensive line, right? Yeah. So I would say, and you described it well, timing is so critical for an offensive line, and they need to probably work on that a bit.
You said that the first exhibition game of the season, if we win, we're celebrating, calling into shows like this.
Well, it's important. It's a good sign.
Is game two? What happens? Is game two more important, or can you wash that one?
Well, I think it's the same thing. If we win the second exhibition game, where it's the Grey Cup is beckoned, get your parka for Winnipeg, and if we lose the second exhibition game, yes, it's absolutely meaningless.
Call the Viscount Gort. Book your rooms. Portage. And a text message here from Kevin in Regina, shifting gears a bit, and obviously you're in tune with the hockey scene as well. Huge game at the Memorial Cup tonight. Yeah, the undefeated game. Medicine Hat Tigers against the undefeated London Knights. I mentioned this yesterday that Hunter became the most winningest coach in Memorial Cup history with their second win.
No surprise.
It's 2-0, 2-0. That one starts just after 5 o'clock. I know the Oilers Stars game, which puck drop in that is it just after 6 again? Like, why can't they can't push that one a little bit later, eh? The old East, 6:07 puck drop by the time that guy's done his anthem. We're looking maybe quarter.
The guy's done his anthem.
But the Memorial, I am very intrigued.
Yeah.
To watch, because 2014, the last time the Western Hockey League won.
Yeah. Well, they got more teams than in Quebec, Maritimes, and Ontario, right? So some would argue that they've diluted the product a bit with more teams now. They're going to, 22? Or is it 23 when they go to Penticton? But anyway, Medicine Hat's got a lot of speed. They're looking very good. London, very solid. It's going to be the battle of the heavyweights. And, if you take a look at the Memorial Cup in recent years, Barney, the team that gets that rest before the championship game is winning 80% of these Memorial Cups. So, I don't know that for a fact, but it's close to around there likely. So it's a huge game tonight for sure. To miss that semifinal and to go right to the final and rest.
Yep.
And, the Pats found that out in 2018 when they hosted the Memorial Cup. They were tired by the time they got to that final. And so hopefully
was
go
that
Tigers.
exciting? When that was here that year, like that was so exciting. The year before was great when they lost to Seattle.
Mm-hmm.
Like just the atmosphere, probably some of the best hockey I've ever watched live.
That's right. Well, you were talking about your son. You were coaching your son playing hockey, and you were talking about some strategies before we were on air that you were looking at with your team. And your son at his age is way faster, and his teammates are way faster than what I was, say, at my age. And, I knew a lot of the players in 74 when the Pats won the Memorial Cup, and I played against or with a lot of them. And, when I was sitting in the stands watching the 2018 Memorial Cup, that Memorial Cup team in 74, nowhere near as fast. No. Not even close. Like, hockey is getting so fast, it's insane. And, you take a look at, like, McDavid, that he can do what he does in a game that's that fast is like they shoot way harder, more accurately. They're way quicker. They're way faster. It's evolved, as has football. I mean,
if I've always said this, if you took a Connor McDavid and a Maddox Schultz, and you could hop in a time machine, man, it would be awesome to have a time machine. But if you hopped in one and you go back to the 70s or even the 80s, and you plunked one and just what they can do on their edges alone, and then with the puck, people with their heads would spin off. Wayne Gretzky, hey, lots of points, great player, all that. But he didn't ride his edges the way they do now. Connor McDavid, when he gets moving, he's got like the 2-engine thing going. It is unbelievable. So just looking, Medicine Hat is the underdog tonight.
Yeah, and I think that's not wrong necessarily with London. And London's going to be a tough team. They're big. Medicine has speed against some of London's size. But I don't think that's wrong because of, what London's done, what they do every year. And they, it's sort of nutty, is it not, that London can dominate that Ontario League like they do, because they've got kids asking and wanting to come from all over the place to play for them more than any other team.
I'd like to see a Netflix or a docuseries on how they actually get it done in London.
Yeah, it doesn't seem right, does it? If you look at the structure of how to build a team, like the Pats are now building a team. And you look at that, and London doesn't have to do that apparently.
No, it's almost like they're a senior team. They're just bringing in guys with bags of money. I don't know. That's allegedly. That's me talking. But yeah, we'll keep you up to date on the Memorial Cup, the NHL, and a whole lot more. We're going to go to break here when you come back. We're talking Regina Red Sox, which are at home opener on Thursday. It is a Sports Cage on the home of local sports in Saskatchewan, 620 CKRM. Tuesdays for Saskatchewan Lotteries, bringing communities together. Sask Lottery products fund over 12,000 sport, culture, and recreational groups around Saskatchewan. Don Hewitt is with me for the first hour here. The Sheriff and Coulson on the other end. The Regina Red Sox open up their season at home Thursday. Our fantastic sounding weatherman said it's supposed to be a heck of a forecast on Thursday, like 28 degrees, be a nice night for the ballpark. Let's go out on the Western Pizza guest hotline. Grab your Western Pizza tonight if you're watching hockey, either the Memorial Cup or the NHL. Rye Pothakos, coach of the Regina Red Sox, is joining us first time on the Sports Cage this year. There he is. He's right in the middle of it. You're right in the muck, eh? You guys out there throwing the ball around in this beautiful Saskatchewan wind?
Yeah, we're having some fun here, getting going, starting to build the culture, and we're having a lot of fun.
What are the goals? Obviously, the goal is always to win a championship. Last year, you come up a little bit short. As you go in this year, Ryan, and throughout the off season, how do you change things? How do you build? What do you focus on?
We have 15 returners, so a lot of the guys come back for the reason that they have a little bitter taste in their mouth. They're a little hungry to get to even the score a little bit. So that's one motivation, and we've added some real nice talent to surround our returning group. That they're handpicked guys that we feel that'll bring us to the next level.
A lot of times when you talk about baseball, it's the pitching staffs and what you got coming out of the bullpen and all that. Maybe give us a rundown on what the Red Sox have as for arms this year.
Well, we got Colton Anderson returning, who was pitcher of the year at the WCBL last year. Holden Hungerford, who was a mainstay in our rotation last year, returning. We got Kai Langford, who was an all-conference player at Mineral Area as a new guy. And we got Dravin Ziegler from LSU Shreveport, who's probably one of the best pitchers in the country at the NEI level. He's 12-0 with a 1.2 ERA. He pitched last night versus Hope International in the NEI championships. I think he won 7 innings with 12 strikeouts. So he's a big guy there. And we got Christopher Spryer, another big lefty, 6'3" lefty that's a senior as well. It's touching 93. So our bullpen back end is really, really good too. So we got good defense speed, and I think we're going to really pitch it really well this year.
Now, I'm looking at you and I'm saying there's a man who loves baseball. You're literally a graybeard, if you don't mind me saying so. So am I, so I can say that. But when I see a man like yourself, I know you're there because you love baseball so much. So tell us about your background and how you still love being around baseball.
Well, I've been on the diamond since 7 years old. I'm 67 now, so this is a passion for me. I love the game. Keeps me young, keeps me connected to the generations. The changes in social media and all these things. It keeps me. I have 3 daughters who are around that age, so it keeps me relevant around the house. It's a lot of fun. I love it. I love the game. I love the be around the guys and what they learn from the game after the game is done for them. The camaraderie. It's just an unbelievable feeling to be at the ballpark.
Don and I were just talking is funny about changes in hockey from the 80s. Mm-hmm. Baseball is probably one of the sports that it's pretty consistent. You could put a guy from now back into the 80s, but maybe with your experience, what are the changes that you see from the athletes over, let's say, the last 10, 20 years?
I think it's the physicality of the guys. They're bigger, stronger, faster, and then, that applies to hockey as well and to football. Everybody, they're training all year round, and they take care of their bodies. And the science on that side of it, the exercise programs they have, the nutrition. So you see that the changes over the years, but raw talent is still raw talent that you have to build from. But the guys are just maybe at the gym a little bit more, all year round type thing, but they come ready to go and fit, ready to go. So,
what about the state of the league? Last year we see Saskatoon come in, instant rival up north. Great place to play. They say the state of the league going into this season.
It's great. 12 franchises, strong and ready to go. The teams have looked like the talent is, ratcheted up a little bit all the way around the league. So it's a lot of fun. The league is in great shape with the new ballpark going in Edmonton, and the talent level being where it's at. So you have a lot of guys that have moved from here to play some pro ball too. So it's very, very good caliber baseball.
Now, so many people drive to Okotoks from Calgary because of the beautiful ballpark. Let's get into some civic politics, shall we? Because, the city council here looks at 4 different things. Replace the brand center, the library, the aquatic center, and getting a new ballpark. I don't think we need a new library. We definitely don't need a new brand center. I would go with the aquatic center, but definitely Regina needs a new ballpark. What do you think, Coach? Would you like to see that happen? Because you'd have people coming from all over the place, all over rural Saskatchewan and the city, if we had a better facility.
Yeah, I think we need a ballpark for sure. I think this league is growing, and to stay relevant and competitive with the franchises that are in the league, I think it would only serve Regina well to have that for the city, for our franchise, for all the academies that are in town, for the development of baseball. And if it ends up downtown, the rail yards area, it would just be like a jewel in the crown of downtown Regina that would just tie the whole city together, I think.
Yeah, and you could
Here.
utilize
I mean, it's
it
not for me. It's not a political thing. It's just kind of like, I think it'd be nice to happen. Wouldn't that be fantastic for the city of Regina?
Oh,
It would look
right
nice.
on, Rye.
We start
I agree.
the GoFundMe page. Sports Cage.
Yeah,
we'll get one.
and then you got Dudney Avenue with all the, the
Taverns.
night spots and all those things. A couple nice hotels there. The Keg. If you build a walkway over to the casino over top of there, you can really tie the whole city together. It'd be fantastic.
Well, it's like quality of life. I mean, baseball is the sport where you have the most fun visiting with your friends and socializing. It is by far the best sport of all of them for that sort of thing. So, I mean, I would argue the quality of life in Regina would skyrocket if we had a new ballpark.
All right. Coach, we're going to see you. We're going to be out there on Thursday, the home opener against Swift Current. Thanks so much for taking some time today, and good luck. And like I said, we'll talk to you Thursday.
Well, thank you very much, and thanks for having me on. Appreciate it. Look forward to shaking you guys' hands when you get here.
Right on. Yeah, for sure.
Bye-bye.
Well, that concession they run there. I can't wait for that. Let's come back a little ticker here. That was head coach of the Red Sox, Rye Pothakos. Again, Thursday against Swift Current, home opener at Curry Field. It is a Sports Cage on the home of local sports in Saskatchewan, 620 CKRM. It is Sports Ticker NHL tonight. Whoa, mama. Stars and Oilers game 4. Your guess is as good as mine. What's going to happen in that? Russia will not be allowed to play in the Olympics. Probably Alexander Ovechkin's last chance. Announced France is going to take their spot next year in hockey. Memorial Cup, we talked about a big one. A lot of people had this one circled. Undefeated Medicine Hat against undefeated London. PWHL, Minnesota, back-to-back champs. Another 2-1 overtime game yesterday. All the games in the best-of-5 final series were 2-1 overtime games. Blue Jays back in Texas tonight, trying to make it 2 in a row. Like we talked, the Regina Red Sox home opener coming up Thursday at Curry Field. And in the NBA, the Sheriff will be watching this one. Knicks and Pacers with Indy up 2-1. That is your sports ticker for Reliance Heath Water Heater Rentals, keeping you in hot and soft water. Call on Reliance. That's hour 1. We'll start hour 2 talking with Dave Thomas and more Rider Training Camp. It is a Sports Cage on 620 CKRM.
And we're gonna win again and again and again and again and again and again.
That's a little Dallas from Nelson. I'm sure a lot of you have been listening to the program for a while. You know that we play. You can find them online. Dallas from Nelson, the Oiler parodies. It is Oilers and Stars game night. First off, thanks to Don Hewitt for coming in for the first hour. Always a pleasure to talk to the professor. And we had some little bit of issues with the YouTube stream at the beginning. Now we're rocking and rolling. Also, I had an issue with the Prairie Land Rentals text line. So I didn't see. I know Dale, you had a question for Don, so we'll get to that later. We got some other rider ones that we'll maybe bring up when Dave is in. And then someone's still chiming in on they don't think it's the cats that are killing the bunnies in my front yard. So that's Tyler from Regina. He says no to the cats. Stars and Oilers, obviously don't take my advice on sprinkling, although I did win. Sheriff, you'll be happy to hear this. My Memorial Cup bet last night. Medicine Hat -1.5 against Moncton. Got home late coaching the kids. And the boy goes, yeah, Medicine Hat won. What'd they win by? 1. I'm like, I'm walking downstairs. He goes, no, they won by 2. I'm like, yeah, right on. But tonight in that one, London is the favorite. That one starts at 5 o'clock. NHL. I got an Oiler fan that I was talking to, and he's been sprinkling. What does he call them? He calls them pleasure hedges or something like that, because he bets the other team. Like he bet Vegas a few times, thinking that Vegas was going to push back against the Oilers. They didn't, and he's a massive Oiler fan, so it's a win. It's a win-win for him. So tonight in Edmonton, though, that's the thing. I don't personally, again, take it for what it's worth. 936-6262, Prairie Land Rentals text line. We didn't see enough from Dallas in that game to push back. Like, Edmonton looks, and I'm not, maybe to say they're on another level is a little drastic. They're not that great. And the Stars are full of quality hockey players. Ottinger has looked mediocre at best in net. I don't know. It's going to be an interesting watch. It's probably another night where I play player goals or player points. Actually, I'll be really gutless and play player assists if there's some good ones there, or just do some sort of bet builder. And then last night, we'll get to that one in a bit, but Carolina stays alive. I think the news, and I don't think anything has come down if Ekholm is playing for the Oilers, unless we just missed it. But this was him yesterday talking about getting back in the lineup, because everyone said he's probably coming back in Game 3. Now we're into Game 4. It's all unknown.
I mean, I like this. I feel really good. Whether I think it's imminent, I think it's going to be soon at least, and whether it's tomorrow or the next game or whatever it is, I'm happy with my body. I'm happy the way I feel, and really excited about where the team's at and how they're playing. So, yeah, excitement.
The fact that the team is leaning 2-1, is it giving you maybe the luxury of being more patient?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, if we were down 3-0, it would have been a different situation. So I think so. It does a little bit, but at the same time, when I'm healthy, I obviously want to get back, and it's not just to go back either. Like you probably need a couple of shifts or so to feel calm and whatnot. So it's obviously a little bit of a balance. It's not that I can sit here and wait for a clinching game in the Stanley Cup final, per se, or in the series to just jump in and be great. Like, it's going to be a process. So it's a bit of a balance of feeling good, maybe giving it time, but also knowing that time is maybe not of the essence at this point. So.
Is he huge? Just tell how big he is from that interview where he's standing in relation to the locker. He's a Viking. You would go back to whenever Vikings were around. That's what you would picture right there. It'd be interesting if he takes the ice tonight and he's in the lineup and he plays as Rope Hintz playing for the Stars after that slash on the top of the foot. Sorry, easy to break those bones on the top of the foot. If you ever played hockey, you block shots, taking slashes back in the day, Sherwood, 50-30 style. There's a lot of little bones on the top, hip style, on the top of the foot. Okay, so Rod Brindamore. And man, he was like, he's done. He's done in Carolina. He's done in Carolina. They go and win yesterday. Couple empty netters. But they take it back to Carolina after the game. Former Notre Dame Hound, Rod Brindamore. He seems like he's really hopped up on caffeine.
Rod, we've all seen what Florida has done on the road this playoffs. How important is it not to get a little more uncomfortable because you're going home?
Yeah, we're not going to do that, but it is nice to, I think, enjoy it for a little bit. I think there's been a lot of crap thrown on this team that, I think we can enjoy the game for a little bit, and then now we got to, like you said, we know that they're not going away. This is not, it's not even a blimp on the radar for them is how they're looking at it, but we have to keep the gas down or keep the hammer down and give us a chance again next game.
Be something, though, if they pull out the next one, and then we got a 3-2 series. That one goes tomorrow. Some other hockey news before we go to break. It's official. Came down about an hour ago. Prince Albert Raiders have made Ryan McDonald the 16th head coach in franchise history. He took over from Jeff Truitt late in the season this year. Had a good playoff run. So Ryan McDonald named the 16th head coach in Prince Albert Raiders history. Let's go back to Rider Training Camp after the break. It is a Sports Cage, streaming at sportscage.com and on 620 CKRM. Let's go first off to the Sheriff clutch performer. What do you got for us over there?
My clutch performer is going to be Liz Shepard. She's from the Minnesota Frost, and she scored the game winner for Minnesota, the repeat as PWHL champs.
Yeah, there was a little scramble in front if you're watching the stream. She bangs it in. There was 4 games played in the best of 5 of that. Every single game, 2-1 overtime games. That is so exciting. I don't care if you like hockey. If you're not, you give me any sport where all 4 games in a best of 5 are going to a 2-1 overtime or extra frame or whatever. That is awesome. I'll throw another one out there. Elena Kloss, she played for the opposition Ottawa. She was named MVP, goaltender. 945 save percentage, 8 games played, 1.15 goals against average. Elena Kloss. And a couple of clutch performers there from the PWHL. Our clutch performers are always for Nick Service in Emerald Park, your local Massey Ferguson, Challenger, Rogator, Gleaner, and Fent dealer. Call 781-1077. Let's go back out, talk Riders, Rough Rider training camp report, because it technically is still training camp. It's brought to you by the Red Zone Sports Bar, right behind the Saskatoon Travelodge. Dave Thomas, voice of the Riders, is back with us. Dave, we talked with Don Hewitt in hour 1. A windy day. Always challenging for it, because, hey, if you live in Saskatchewan, you live in Regina, the wind is a thing. I was actually joking with a guy yesterday. It's like, how many nice days do you think we get in the city to golf? Like in 365 days, 15, 20, where there's like no wind, really nice. But when it comes to football, throwing is tough in the wind, catching is tough in the wind, kicking definitely tough in the wind, and long snapping would be a little bit tricky in the wind too.
Absolutely, right? Think about it. If it's a crosswind, right, you're trying to zip that football back like Jorgen Hughes does and get the laces where he does. According to Kent Majuri, about 96% of the time, Jorgen Hughes has got the laces where the kickers want them when they're receiving that, whether that's a punter holding for a field goal. So it's pretty remarkable. And when you're speaking of wind, okay, so at Old Taylor Field, right?
Yep.
It was a wind tunnel, just would gust, right? There was really no wind advantage, was there? Like if you had the wind, you had the wind.
Well, it was there. Yeah, exactly. There was no funneling. No.
At New Mosaic Stadium, I had an amazing conversation with Brett Lawther, which we'll get to later on this week. But we were talking about the wind at Mosaic Stadium. And if you watch Brett, a lot of times he's kicking in warm-ups into the north end zone. And then when it comes time, teams period, whatever the case may be, he's kicking into the south end zone. Reason being is that the way that the wind swirls by the Maxtron, it is much more difficult, and it actually can swirl the opposite direction from the field. And if you're not aware of that when it gets up, because you may not feel that in your face when you're going to kick, if you're not aware of that, then it adjusts and affects the kick, right? So amazing conversation. He said, a lot of people don't know that. Like when you're kicking into the south end zone, that's a huge factor. And he goes, for us, that's our home field advantage because nobody gets a chance to practice in it like I do.
Would there be, now that you've been to kind of all the stadiums in the league, what would be one that is Winnipeg the most, comparable to what we have here in Sasky, or which one would you say?
Yeah, Winnipeg would be the most comparable. When it comes to weird wind conditions, I'd actually throw Commonwealth Stadium into that mix. Oh. It's tricky in Toronto because the wind is coming right off the lake, right? Because that's where BMO Field is. But at Commonwealth Stadium, you can see the flags at the top of the grandstand on the other side, the side opposite from you. And like halfway they're going to the north and the other half are going to the south.
That would throw a guy for a loop. That's
Yeah, and then last year there was the infamous rain going up in Ottawa, which I won't live down because apparently it's not scientifically capable, but whatever. I saw what I saw.
He's standing by it. I'm not letting it go. Okay, so we've talked positions here, and with Don Hewitt earlier. I said, like, when we talked to Tommy Stevens in the winter, right after the Riders signed him, great interview, had him on. He was pretty adamant that, like, at some point I want to prove that I can sling the football. Played at a good school, played in a good conference. all that. You had a chance to talk to him and have an interview with him.
Yeah, absolutely I did. Sorry, I didn't know if you wanted me to talk or not. But yeah, absolutely had a chance to have a conversation with him. As you mentioned, he wants to prove that he's a passer in this league. Today at training camp, it looked like there's a specific package that is designed for him to run with a lot of RPO, a lot of rollouts. Again, they almost practiced a third down play today at practice, which never happens. So Tommy Stevens has been very active at camp. And like I said, I had a chance to catch up with him and talk about his experiences in Riderville thus far. Tommy, the smile on your face can't be replaced to be out on the field in Regina. What's it like bringing training camp back home to Mosaic Stadium?
Yeah, it's. I feel like the place gets nicer every time I'm here. So glad to call it home now. It's a beautiful stadium with people in it, obviously, but even without, this is the first time being in here without it, and it's just as nice. Blown away by everything. It's top down, first class organization. It's all been great. So very very thankful to be here and happy to be a part of it.
You're a couple of weeks into your tenure as being a Saskatchewan Roughrider. What has your overall impression been, especially when you've gone through camp in Saskatoon?
Well, you hear from guys in the league that have been here, former teammates obviously that I've had in the past that just rave about the place. But it's really hard to describe it without being here and actually feeling it. And so, I came in with high expectations, and from everything that everybody's already told me, and still blown away by how great everything is. I've got nothing to complain about. So it's been great, man.
You told us when you signed that you were here to compete as a quarterback. You can throw the ball. We've seen that. We've seen the athleticism in your tapes all over the place. How has that progression gone with Mark Mueller and the offense and getting acclimatized to that?
Yeah, it's, obviously it's going to take some, I guess what we like to call growing pains, because it's been a while. Like I haven't spent a lot of time running the offense, even though that I've been in it for, 4 years now. It's obviously a little bit different when you're actually running it. And so, there's been, a couple practices where, you unfortunately throw the ball right to the other team, and, you kind of just got to go through that kind of stuff. But it's good to, get those, things out of the way and learn from them, right? So, all in all, I think that it's been a really productive camp. I think it's been my favorite camp so far in the CFL, and I feel like I've grown a lot from it so far.
You talk about learning and growth. Your opportunity came late in the fourth quarter, down by 6 points. Ice cold. Well, maybe not ice cold. You got in on a couple of plays before that. What's it like coming off the bench into that situation?
It's just here we go. You don't really get to choose your hand, right? So, that was the opportunity I was given. Tried to make the most of it. Obviously, we came up a little bit short, but we were able to put some things on tape. And all in all, obviously, there's a lot to learn from. But those experiences mean something, even if it's just a preseason game. It was important to me. Guys on the team, we wanted to win, and gonna bring the same energy again this weekend. Hopefully, come out with a win.
The stats that you released on your third down efficiency are through the roof. How do you get so good at that when you really can't practice it?
I think it's just all around buy-in from the unit. I think that everybody needs to buy in, because all it takes is one guy to mess up on his job for the play to be a disaster. So. So yeah, I think that the coaches that we had in the past were able to put us in a good situation as far as the short yardage. But at the end of the day, it all came down to execution. And I thought that we did a very good job for my tenure there, and hoping to build off of that here.
It's very evident the chemistry that you and Jake Mayer have. You can see it on the field, throwing the rock around, talking with one another. But how is it building with the other two, Jack Cohn and Trevor Harris?
I think it's been awesome getting to know both of them. They've both been very welcoming to us. They welcomed us with open arms, and I think that in order to have a successful quarterback room, you need to be able to throw ideas at each other, help out, give your insight when asked. Obviously, you don't want to come in as the new guy and start talking too much, right? But that's been a really good thing that Trevor and Jack both have I guess opened that door for us to share our opinions. And because at the end of the day, it's pro football, right? We've all had similar experiences, different paths, but I know both those guys have both played big time football, and just being able to help, having a healthy room is obviously important, not only for our room, but for the offensive unit and all around our whole team. So it's been great.
As we inch closer to the regular season, then what does Tommy Stevens need to do to be ready?
Keep taking it day by day. We got practice tomorrow, so just been worrying about that.
I gotta see this guy up close, right? Like 6'5", what it's listed online, 6'5", 237. Is that accurate?
Yeah, pretty bang on, and he can move, right? Like he can move. Like he is a load to bring down, but he can move. And from what I've seen, very smart, very intelligent. He's picked up the offense well. He's studying well. Like There's so many things that he's doing well right now, and we kind of talked about this on the broadcast on the weekend, right? You want to make them cut you. Don't cut yourself. Make them cut you. And for Tommy Stevens, he's done everything that he's been asked of and more.
Yeah. Can't see that. Just such a weapon, right? Like a useful tool now. And now, like 10 years ago, no, because no one was doing this. But now in the league, you got this. You got that short yardage. And you're saying they're working on their short yardage packages today. Who knows what can come from it? Like, there's always an evolution to game planning, to systems, right? Maybe he's not always going to run. Maybe they are going to throw a different wrinkle in, and we don't have to give that away, and you're at practices. But you just never know with a guy like that.
No, and again, what does Luke always say? Your best ability is your availability. And he's been available to do anything that's been asked of him. He hasn't been returning punts like Darian Durant mentioned yesterday, but he's been doing it all.
Luke really needs to just write wall art and have it available to buy places. People can put it up in their kitchen. Yeah. All right. Let's regroup in hour 3. Thanks for hopping on, Dave. Appreciate it.
All right, we'll talk in a bit.
Rough Rider Training Camp reports are brought to you by the Red Zone Sports Bar, located right behind the Saskatoon Travelodge. A great job of hosting the fellows over the last 2 weeks when they were up there. Great specials, great food, Travelodge, nice little place, little water slide action there. So they are the sponsor of our training camp reports. Before I forget, I got to mention this. Speaking of football, Regina Riot, proud to announce their upcoming Teal game in partnership with the Ovarian Cancer Canada Society, marking the 10th year of this important collaboration. The game is going to go Sunday, June 1st. That's this Sunday, 1 p.m. at Libel Field. The Riot take on the rivals, Saskatoon Valkyries. 1 o'clock, Libel Field. Great women's football, and it's the Teal game, so a chance to support the Ovarian Cancer Canada Society. There you go, 1 o'clock on Sunday at Libel. Quick break, we come back. Hopefully it's going to be time for Arash Madani. This is the Sports Cage. We are streaming at sportscage.com and on the home of the Riders, 620 CKRM. Tuesdays for Saskatchewan Lotteries, bringing communities together. Sask Lottery products fund over 12,000 sport, culture, and recreation groups across Saskatchewan. So if you're playing Sports Select tonight and you got the Oilers and Stars, let me know what you're doing, 936-6262. Maybe I'll take some tips from the listeners. This Memorial Cup game that starts at just after 5. That is one maybe to sprinkle on. Medicine Hat in London should be a good one. 2-0 teams. It's just a night of watching hockey. Pick up a Western pizza, sit back, grab a cold one, and watch. Yeah, he does all the Memorial Cup games. Oh, Colson, you're so easy to please. I love it. Let's go talk to our buddy Arash.
It's time to go coast to coast with Arash Madani for Smart Investing Solutions. Be smart with your money. Call Brian Gawley at Smart Investing Solutions, 546-2533.
Mr. Arash Madani, nice to see you on this Tuesday, as always, for Brian Gawley, like the big voice said. We've talked about it last week. I don't know where to go on this Oilers team. I've just totally given up betting on these games and doing anything. And the thing that's really like I keep forgetting until it just came up in the last 24 hours. They're doing this without Matthias Ekholm.
Yeah. It's amazing, Barney. Like, how do you win? You win with your top 6, and you win with your back end, and maybe their best defenseman, one of the top defensemen in the league. And they've been without him basically for 6 weeks now.
Yep.
Like he came back for a few minutes in one of the games, but he'd missed more than a handful before the playoffs. Comes back for a minute and then he's out. to continue to be able to do this without that. Like, you think about the Lightning teams, and I'm not comparing the two, but imagine Tampa didn't have Victor Hedman. They don't win 2 cups.
No, they don't.
No chance. And now Edmonton is still in the driver's seat without Ekholm. 35 years old, been through the battles, knows what it takes. He's out there at practice. Obviously, something is really wrong. So the fact that they've been able to withstand this without him is amazing.
It's kind of one of those things, right, where you got some money in the till. You got some cushion here. But if the Stars win tonight and he doesn't play, is it a definite into Game 5?
I think the only definite becomes if you lose the next 2 and you're on the brink of elimination. At that point, I think you just have to try. But then the question becomes, how many minutes can he actually give you? How many minutes can he go?
I don't know if I rule anything out with the Oilers.
Right.
Maybe it's like, okay, he got a few shifts in the first period, and by the third period, it looks like he's in top form. Just how they've been doing it with the other guys that have been injured. I'm just not ruling anything out with this team.
Is this like a load management deal too, where you we're so often in hockey, we hear about double shifting guys. Do you almost limit the shifts you give them? Do you try and keep the minutes in the 15 range just so you can get the best out of him in the third period? I don't know. Obviously, they're not trying to even, get an answer to some of these questions. But I just think that when you're in this situation, when you're the Oilers, this is why your offensive firepower matters so much. Like when you're scoring 5-6 goals a night, Ekholm's almost like in the back of it's an off day story because the game day story is not dictated by that at all. And in large part, it's because of what the guy between the pipes has been doing for you.
Well, if the Oilers win this series and go to the Stanley Cup final, who is your front runner? Oh, you're going on the subway? You taking us on a tour?
I'm outside the subway station, so I'm coming outside, so it's not bothering you.
What? Who would be your Conn Smythe Trophy leader from the Oilers if they win this?
The easiest thing to say is McDavid, right? Has the most points in the entire playoff so far, etc. But to me, without Stuart Skinner, the Oilers are not here in this spot. And I know this sounds insane because Pickard started a bunch of games, but think of what they've put Skinner through mentally and how he's responded in the biggest games in the previous series and then comes out and does this now. Without Stuart Skinner, they're not here, Barney.
I don't know, though, because Calvin Pickard looked like Martin Brodeur / Patrick Waugh at times too. Again, it is just a really weird year, playoffs, where if you're an Oiler fan, you can kind of peacock around right now because you're just getting it done every which way. It's like, oh, McDavid and Draisaitl were quiet last night. Who cares? Hyman, Perry, Kane, Frederick. I don't know. Watch Pokey Reddick play a game and steal a win for him.
And I think this is what makes a championship team. There's no straight line to 16 wins. You need to manufacture however you can get to these wins. And I was listening to McDavid's availability today, and when Connor's calling Zach Hyman a freight train, I'm saying to myself, wow. It's this is the pretty rich boy from affluent Toronto who's out there throwing his body around, doing whatever it takes. That's what makes a Stanley Cup team, is that anybody, anywhere, anytime has to get it done.
That's what happens though when you move to Northern Alberta. You get a jacked up truck, some white sunglasses, some sort of tattoo. You become tough. You see the moss pit. You see all the fight. Maz and I were talking about this yesterday. You see how people are just fighting each other in Oiler jerseys in the moss pit.
Yeah.
I don't know if you see that anywhere else.
I agree with you there. Yeah. My dad is better than your dad. I promise you that.
Exactly. Yeah. Kate, CFL. Training camps, a lot of news coming up. I got to ask you, have you heard anything what's going on in Toronto with Chad Kelly and his injury?
There has been very little said. Barney, I would not be surprised if Chad Kelly opens the season on the 6-game injured list. And I think that's going to be okay for the Argos. Like, even if you're without him for 6, you get him for 12, you make sure he's healthy, he can practice the last couple of weeks if he's on the 6-game injured. It's a devastating injury he's coming off of with the broken leg. But more than that, what that does, Barney, is it opens up a little bit of cap room for you too, so that down the road, if you need to sign somebody for September and October Labor Day cuts, that gives you a little bit of financial flexibility. So it's not just that you'd be without Chad, you're removing a third of his salary off the salary cap, which gives you a little bit of wiggle room. And how can you not have confidence in Nick Arbuckle based on what he did last year?
I was just going to say that. Watch him make even more of a name for himself now that there's no pressure on him.
There is zero pressure on Nick Arbuckle. Like, it's house money. And I know coming into camp they said it was him and Cameron Dukes have a competition for the backup role. Give me a break. Look, this is I also believe this. Like, I think there's something to be said for load management in football. It is a violent collision sport. If you can sit your guys for a week or two here, keep them fresh, that's not the worst thing. Chad Kelly doesn't want to do that. Most players don't want to do that. But I go back 5-6 years when the Bombers won their first one, right before the pandemic. Andrew Harris, remember, that was the year that he had the doping positive test, and he had to sit out a game or two. That body getting a break and not getting hit 30 times a game did them just so much good come November. I think this is going to be just fine for the Argos.
Remember last year when I said, and this is NFL, and I said, if only Baltimore could figure out the load management thing with Henry and their quarterback, Lamar Jackson. I'm like, come January, I don't know. Maybe we're missing the boat. Maybe we should be NFL or CFL managers. I don't know. Maybe it's crazy.
You know what, Barney? I think we're onto something here. You can be the GM of the Ravens. I'll be the GM of the Vikings, and we'll meet in the Super Bowl.
Well,
you can buy
the Vikings.
You can buy
the Super Bowl. Now that just seems a little bit far fetched, Arash. We had something until you said the Vikings in the Super Bowl.
It was great to see Kirk Cousins not show up to Falcons mini camp today. We're really missing you over there in Atlanta, Kirk. You know.
Hey, in Edmonton, I don't know what you got out of there, but we've kind of thought that they're going to hand the keys to Trey Ford. He's going to roll. How patient is the organization and the fan base is the question I have with Trey Ford.
Look, you go and give Trey Ford the money. You give him the keys. You say Trey Ford's our guy. And then what do you do in the offseason? You trade McLeod Bethel-Thompson away to Montreal. Basically, what you've done is you've taken away the guy who's kind of sniffing down his back. You bring Cody Fajardo in. I get it. He's got a Grey Cup on his resume, but Cody Fajardo is not going to be your solution either. I think that Trey Ford is going to get all the patience in the world, no matter what happens. If he struggles early, they'll continue to ride him. If he has success early, they'll continue to develop him. They have made the decision to go with Ford as the face of the franchise. And when you do that, Barney, you're not going to make a real move until late into August. It's a brand new GM. It's a brand new owner. It's a brand new president. They're going to roll Trey Ford. That's my take on the situation.
I saw on social media as well, though, you got some other news out of Edmonton.
Well, I think this is one of the coolest things. So you think about what the CFL is, Barney? Over the years, there are people that are like lifers. Dwayne Mandrusiak was the equipment manager of the Double E for 49 years before he was unceremoniously dispatched. And what did they do yesterday? Dwayne Mandrusiak, who was invited personally by Warren Moon to Canton, Ohio, to be there the day he was inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Dwayne Mandrusiak was rehired by Edmonton yesterday to have his 50th year. He's going to be a team historian. He's going to be a team ambassador. Think of all the players, coaches, staff, families Dwayne has touched in half a century being connected to that football team. Those are the things you do to repair wounds in an organization, wounds in a community, wounds in an organization. I applaud Edmonton for doing that. That's the kind of stuff that makes the CFL the CFL.
That is a nice touch by the Edmonton Elks organization. But yet they have people fighting in the mosh pit. I just can't figure out that city. We talk about a lot about pro sports teams on the show. You have a Canadian achievement that may not be beat, and it's a milestone that just happened over the weekend.
Barney, this is something you and I will never be accused of doing, okay? The Ottawa Marathon went this past weekend in our nation's capital. It was the 51st running of the Ottawa Marathon. Guys, let's run these photos. There is a gentleman who in 1975 ran his first one and has run every single one since.
Oh, mama.
Congrats to John Watson. 51 straight marathons run. And I get we talk about sports and everything like that. 42.2 kilometers in the heat, in the rain, in the cold.
Can't do it.
To do that, I mean, it's just incredible.
Can't do it. I got to 10K once, that COVID year, and I was jogging lots. I got to 10K, and I felt like Brian Prefontaine or whatever his name was. But
yeah, sure.
42?
I drove 10 kilometers and I broke a sweat. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Biking. If you told me you could hop on a bike and go 42 kilometers at this part of my life, I don't think I could.
I don't know, man. Like, right. And like, it's not just that you do it, it's that you're willing to put in the training and all that goes into it, like the commitment to like get to the starting line, forget the finish line, just to be like, you know what, I'm going to put myself in a position to make sure that I can do this. I just think that stuff's awesome.
I was complaining about coaching hockey on the weekend and how sore my feet were. And this guy is running 42 kilometers every year.
I thought your elbows and biceps might be a little sore.
Man, do I feel awful right now. I can't even look at myself in the mirror. Later. Okay, we got 30 seconds here quick. I wanted to get one more take. How sad is it for Alexander Ovechkin? He'll never be able to probably play in the Olympics again.
Yeah, it's the reality of the world we now live in. And I want to pivot to one other thing, Barney. What is Canada's excuse now if they don't win gold next February?
Hey, watch out for those Americans.
Oh,
World
sure.
Champs.
Watch out for everybody. Watch out for Denmark.
Switzerland. Denmark.
Sure.
Latvia.
Yeah.
Hey, France is in the mixer now. The French, they'll give us a run. They smoke upside down and walk around in black socks. They're scary.
Hey, listen, man. Listen, the Americans are getting a real taste on the basketball side. This isn't their domain anymore. We're seeing it on the hockey side too. So, yeah, brutal for Ovechkin, but it's going to be a wide open tournament.
You only have 3 minutes left before your transfer expires, so I'll let you get to the subway, and then we'll talk on Thursday.
You're the man. Will be much better conditions on Thursday, I promise.
Awesome. Coast to Coast with Arash
See you, bud.
Madani. For smart investing solutions, you got to be smart with your money. You call Brian Gawley. Smart Investing Solutions, 546-2533. Says the Sports Cage, streaming at sportscage.com. Hey, just enough time to go out and talk to our friend Brian Raymond from Flowing Springs Golf Course. Brian, who the last couple of days a little breezy, but the forecast is looking juicy here going into the first Rider game.
Oh, you're absolutely right. And, and speaking of that, there'll be some people coming into town for that game. And if you're coming in early and you want to bring your sticks, just give us a call. We'll get you on the golf course. But, the last couple of days have been really nice and sunny and warm, little breezy. But the beauty of this is, our first hole is 600 yards. So the wind has been blowing from the south. So it's made that hole just a little bit easier.
And it doesn't matter where you are in Saskatchewan. Every time it's windy, someone says, at least there's no mosquitoes.
There you go.
Give a rundown of the specials, because it's got to be the most affordable place to golf in the province.
Absolutely, and you're right about the specials. Every Monday and every Wednesday, so tomorrow's Wednesday, women and seniors over 60, $39. Great deal. After 3 o'clock every day, it's $38. And, of course, our famous after 6 p.m. Green fee is $22. So it's just a fantastic deal. And one of the things that people maybe not realize is that we offer a 9-hole rate all the time. So if you're coming out and you only have time to play 9 holes, give us a call. We'll fix you up.
Right on. $22. That's crazy. And then, Brian, do you guys still, if people need, grips or any kind of club repair, do that?
Yeah, we can do that. We have certainly we have a supply of grips, different varieties. Not all of them. There's like hundreds of them, but we do have a pretty good supply and a pretty good variety of grips that we can put on. It doesn't take all that long. We have been doing some reshafting and that sort of thing because apparently golfers, accidentally somehow break their drivers or whatever. But you know how that works.
Yeah, I actually had that happen this year, but it wasn't my fault. It was allegedly the airlines. I don't know. How do people get in touch and take advantage of the great course and the prices?
And actually, the course is in great shape. Give us a call. The phone number is 306-543-5050, and you can book online at flowingspringsgolf.com.
And we'll talk on Thursday, Brian.
Take care.
Right on. Man, $22 to golf. Can't even do that. You can't even golf in your backyard for that cheap. Let's go into the sports ticker.
It's time for the Sports Ticker, brought to you by Extreme Hockey and Sports. Whatever your sport is, Extreme Hockey has you covered.
Memorial Cup big game starting in a few moments here. It is undefeated Medicine Hat against undefeated London, winner to the final. NHL in about an hour and 15 minutes time. Stars and Oilers, game number 4. How about Russia? They're not going to be allowed to play in the Olympics next year, especially ice hockey fans. Alexander Ovechkin, probably his last chance. France is going to take their spot. Big news, PWHL last night, Minnesota back-to-back champs. Another 2-1 overtime game. All 4 games in the best of 5 were 2-1 overtime games. Blue Jays back in Texas tonight, trying to make it 2 in a row. Regina Red Sox open up Thursday against Swift Current. And in the NBA, Knickerbockers, Pacers. Game number 4 with the Pacers up 2-1. That is your sports ticker in hour 2 for Extreme Hockey and Sport. Whatever your spring sport is, Extreme Hockey in Regina has you covered. We'll be back with Glen Suitor in hour 3. It is a Sports Cage on 620 CKRM. Welcome back. Hour 3. Thanks so much. The Sheriff's with me. Colson's with me. Curtis was here because he fixed everything. We were on YouTube to start. Solid move by Curtis doing that. If you have any comments, Prairie Land Rentals text line, 936-6262. Number of people we talked in hour 1 with Don Hewitt was in about Trevor Harris and how much he's going to play on Friday night. We don't know. None of us know unless you're Corey Mace or in the coaching staff. But a lot of people are saying they want to see Harris no more than a quarter. Don thought that it's possible. Could see him in the starters for a half. So let us know what you think. 936-6262, Prairie Land Rentals. From the small gardening tools all the way up to big skid steers. And you can get them delivered too. Deal with the owner, 600 Albert Street in Regina, 936-6262. More football talk coming up. Dave Thomas is going to join us with another Rough Rider training camp report. But let's get going with it. Glen Suitor.
Time now for press coverage with CFL and Saskatchewan Roughrider legend Glen Suitor on the Sports Cage. Brought to you by Bronco Plumbing and Heating, where professional service is guaranteed. They'll treat you right. 781-2090.
Okay, I don't know what I missed here, but Colson, what do you got Glenn all fired up about? I heard you guys talking.
So Glenn was just telling me that we've got some Canadian quarterback history happening in week 1 of the CFL this year.
Ooh.
And he's really excited about it. Might be the first time ever that we've got 2 starting Canadian QBs facing in week 1.
Oh, Glenn.
Yeah, Barney, I'm, this is the time of year I get my charts together. I start to look at the guys that are going to be starters. You pretty much can nail most of them at this point, especially the quarterback position. And my first 2 games, first in Saskatchewan for the opener against Ottawa, and then I travel back to Vancouver for the Lions and Edmonton matchup with Snoop Dogg. And I just realized, and I'm going to double check this, so it's not fact just yet, but I think this will be the first time in the league's history that 2 Canadian quarterbacks who are the franchise players, not the backup guys that are just happen to be getting a chance at the same time and playing against each other, that are the franchise playing starting quarterbacks, Nathan Rourke versus Trey Ford in week 1 of the regular season. And one of those guys, and this is where I was with Colson getting pretty fired up, one of those guys is a U Sports guy. And what a feather in the cap to all the coaches at U Sport, all the universities and all the athletic programs that keep working to keep those programs alive. I know better than most that that's not easy because of the work we were trying to do at SFU and get that football program back, which doesn't look like it's going to happen. Have a U Sports guy be a starter in a time where 100. This is Grey Cup 112, I think, and coming up. And in the 112 years, this will be the first time that 2 franchise quarterbacks will be Canadian. One of them coming out of U Sports, going head to head in week 1. That's cool.
I lost him. I can't hear him. I had him up until.
Uh-oh.
Oh, no, there we go. No, you're there now, Glenn. Don't worry about it. You're there. We got it all figured out.
I can't hear you.
You can't hear me?
I can now. Now.
It's just been a weird day. We got people from Winnipeg, we think, sabotaging our equipment today, ever since Don Hewitt threw them under the bus earlier. It was funny. But, it's, and this isn't like a rah, elbows up kind of thing. It's something that we're probably, you would think, going to see more of as we go along here, just because the Canadian athletes have caught up. They are catching up when it comes to football, when it comes to basketball. We're seeing it as well, but more so football. That, the U Sport thing, maybe that is a little bit unique, but is there talent coming out of Canada when it comes to football?
Yeah, absolutely. And, you can look at the numbers going up in the NCAA when guys are coming out of high school and going down to the NCAA, and guys playing in the NFL and Canada, and even, our athletes in the amateur and flag and junior football programs. There are more and more junior football players coming out of those programs and making it on a pro roster in the Canadian Football League, and, getting looks down south at times too. So, I think you're right that the athlete, the training facilities, some of them are gravitating towards the game sooner than they were in the past. I mean, it was always kind of, your dad gave you the hockey stick right out of the gate, and you just did that until you said, hey, I'm going to high school now. Maybe I should try a different sport. I want to try football. And then you find out you're good at that. So that's something that happened to a lot of Canadian kids. But yeah, I'm real excited about it, and I'm happy to see the real Canadian angle with the U Sports. And I go to the Dogs Breakfast every year, and I just see the support for that team up in Saskatoon. U of R's got the same thing going on. It's a nighttime deal, I believe, for them. But it's just when you look at the training facilities, the quality of coaching staffs, the program's backing, the public's backing, and the financial backing from corporate and just the everyday citizen that are supporting these programs. It's not surprising. We're going to see more of it. You're right, Barney. It's going to continue to arrow up when it comes to more and more players playing at the top levels.
Quickly, I want to go through as we go into the second week of the preseason here, and then it's a quick turnaround for the Riders because you're in town and the crew, and it's the Thursday game. If we go through the West here in BC, and we kind of talked about the teams a couple weeks ago, but where do you see each team? We won't go with the Riders till last. Where do you see them being vulnerable?
Well, for the Lions, I think their question mark was going to be on the defensive side of the ball. Last year, especially in the back half of the season, weren't great tacklers, weren't an overly physical team. They lost a couple of linebackers around midseason due to injury, and that probably affected that. Matthew Betts was coming back from his NFL tryout, so he was just getting back into the flow of it with the angles in Canadian football. I'm not giving him an excuse, and wasn't just him, but that team didn't play very aggressively on defense, and I think that's going to be the question mark this year. They've made a little switch. Ryan Phillips, who was the DC there, is now still there, but he's a positional coach, and Mike Benavides will be the DC. That's where I think the question mark is for BC.
Edmonton Elks.
Yeah, well, the Elks is going to be, to me, they had the best running game in the league last year. I don't see that changing. When you have a Trey Ford, it widens your D line. Like it just makes them more contain ready. So they have to widen, and then when they come off the line of scrimmage, they have to keep widening to keep him in the pocket. That opens up run lanes inside where you're riding to side type plays. So I think that'll be their strength, and it's mental for them. I look at their roster and who will probably be the starters for Edmonton. The question mark for them is, can they snap out of this? We're not a very good organization team anymore. I think it's mental for them in a lot of ways, and they brought in some guys to maybe change that.
Huh. Down the road, Maz yesterday he wanted to crown the Calgary Stampeders after one preseason game. Oh, did they put the points up and all that? Calgary, there was a lot of issues last year. They were a little bit dysfunctional. Where do you see the Stamps being a little bit vulnerable?
Yeah, vulnerability for them too is again on defense. They're going to be kind of like the Lions. I thought the Lions' defense was slightly better than Calgary's last year. They need to get to some stops. They lost Cameron Judge. They lost Mike Rose. The Rider fans know where he is and are excited to see him. A rejuvenated Mike Rose. So the biggest question mark is the personnel there. They're going to have a new DC, and what is that defense going to be all about? What does it look like? I'm not going to say they're going to be better at quarterback because I thought Jake Mayer is good enough to be a championship quarterback. I think he is. And I'm going to keep saying that, and we'll see how many opportunities he gets in Regina. But Vernon Adams is a different style player. And that is still a question mark. It's not even a strength yet to me. It's a question mark because Dave Dickinson is structured, was a pocket passer. Vernon Adams is a bit of a freewheeling, deep ball guy that loves to just get out, sling it, and move around in the pocket and all that stuff. So it's still a question mark. There's more question marks in Calgary than notable strengths right now. That's for sure.
Winnipeg, Manitoba. Where would you attack them if you were coaching against them this year?
Well, offensively, if I'm going to attack Winnipeg, it would be right at Willie Jefferson. with the run game. I would just keep pounding, make those dynamic pass rushing type guys like Jefferson, who is still a menace and still can just destroy an offensive game plan by himself. Attack them with a solid, balanced offense right at him. Make him be a run stopper, not a guy batting down passes all the time, and get yourself in manageable situations on second down. I know that's something you say to every offense. That's ideal, but specifically against the Bombers. And are they getting old? I mean,
I feel we said that 12 months ago here, though.
I know, and but their core, their number one offensive lineman, their number one defensive lineman, their quarterback, they're all post 30 whatever. And you know what? They're using every one of the times that we say something like this, they are using it for bulletin board material. Yeah. I guarantee you. Yep.
Yeah. Look at this Rube on the sports cage and what he said. No.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and coaching changes, right? And a lot of places too. So that tends to take some time, as we saw maybe last year in Sasky. We were a little bit spoiled with how, the start we had with new coaches. But in a lot of these places, that takes time. Preseason isn't that long. Training camp isn't that long.
Well, last year they were getting used to a new defensive coordinator. And yes, Richie Hall was still in the building. This year they don't have Buck Pierce, so now they're starting fresh there. Guy they hire from within, which is sort of the Bomber way. But you're right; it's a great point. I mean, if you look across the league, there are a few teams now that have different DCs, different defensive coordinators, and those coordinators, they may still have the other guy around, like in BC, where Mike Benavides is a coordinator now, and Ryan Phillips is there on the staff. So the transition should be a little smoother because of that. But you have a different philosophy. And where you'll really see it, Barney, I think, is early in the season in calling the game. Not necessarily the game plan and the playbook and evaluating what you have and trying to put them in their strengths. But that's all in training camp and practice. But when you get to the game, it's a whole different beast when you're the coordinator and you're play calling. And play calling is a feel thing. It's a perspective. Where do I want to do? What do I want to stand for? Who am I going to be? What is this defense going to look like? What are we going to be on second down? Are we going to be an all-out blitzing team? Or are we going to be a zone team and make them be patient? What are we going to be? So that's where you'll see the differences.
Where are your question marks with the Saskatchewan Roughriders?
I like their secondary, really like their linebacking core. I think the leadership is there. These O-line injuries have all of a sudden made it a bit of a question. I still like their depth. We talked about that a few weeks ago, so I wouldn't be overly concerned. I think the question for me with the Riders is, will they be explosive enough to put sort of, I won't say fear because you don't get intimidated at this level, but that self-doubt into the minds of a defensive backfield, for instance. So they go against Ottawa in game one, and is that Ottawa defensive backfield going to feel like at any time Trevor Harris is going to throw it past them over their head? And as long as that seed is planted, then DBs will automatically back up and subconsciously back up and give some more space, and that opens up a whole bunch more for the offense. So, you always want to have that fear of the deep ball, and I think they do. I mean, Emelis and Schaefer Baker and these guys, I think they can be that. They can be explosive, but that would be my question mark for them. There's not a Eugene Lewis in that group, and we'll see if they can be explosive with the talent they have. And I think they have talent. Don't get me wrong, but they've got to show it now. And Trevor's got to push the ball at times.
Okay, before we let you go, I got to get your take on the NHL playoffs. What are you just full? Are you full Canada head to toe Edmonton Oilers?
Buddy, I was watching more this year than ever have, and I sort of tried to self-evaluate as to why. I was thinking, why am I watching so much hockey? Like, I walk by and my wife Elizabeth just keeps going, hockey again? Isn't it over yet? Like, come on! And I'm going, no. And you know what it is? It's this 51st state stuff. It's these tariffs and Canada should just join us and we'll protect Canada and all this other stuff that's going on in the world, and how it feels a little bit disrespectful, and we are waving our Canadian flags, being patriotic. So if there was ever a year that we could crown a Canadian hockey team, put them back. How many years has it been, Barney, since we've won? 30, 31? Canadian team has been a Stanley Cup champion. It was Habs, right? Back in like 30-something years ago.
Yeah. Patrick Waugh over the Kings.
Yeah. So you're talking that long ago before a Canadian team in our game. This is our baby, hockey. So and I listen. I know that the rosters are made up of a lot of different players from different parts of the world, but a Canadian team winning it in the, why don't they just be the 51st state year? To me, would be the major, you know what, to that whole thing. I would love it. So I'm watching every second. I'm watching every penalty kill, every power play. I've even got my wife's walking by saying, "Quit yelling at the TV."
On Thursday, we'll talk more about the preseason and the games coming up. And, because Rider fans are excited for the game here this weekend.
Yeah, sounds good, buddy.
Right on. Glen Suitor. Press coverage with Glen Suitor. It is for Bronco Plumbing and Heating, where professional service is guaranteed. They'll treat you right. 781-2090. If you haven't got your air conditioner serviced for this year, it's getting hot this week. Now is the time to call Bronco Plumbing and Heating and say, can you maybe come tune this thing up, because it's, where was I today? I was in a room somewhere with, I was like, you guys maybe should turn the AC on in here. It was sweaty and sticky. So thanks to Bronco Plumbing and Heating. Dave Thomas, when we come back, we're doing more training camp. It is a Sports Cage on the home of the Riders, 620 CKRM. Prairie Land Rentals, they got power tools, tents, fencing, generators, welders. There's everything you need when it comes to renting for that spring or summer job, or on the work site. Can deliver as well. Prairie Land Rentals, 600 Albert Street since 1986. 936-6262. All right, Roscoe thinks Harris will play at least a quarter. James saying no more than a quarter. Irene is like, I agree with Dawn. Half for the starters, including Harris. A bunch of other people here are saying about a quarter. I guess that makes sense. Probably more surprised what happened, like I said, in Winnipeg and how much they played. Maybe that's the way they're going this year. I don't think there isn't a right or wrong. Last year we lambasted Winnipeg for not playing anybody in the preseason. They come out of the gate stumbling. They look good at the end. Hammer off the rust. Maybe there is, like talking to Arash, some load management this year. We got Mayer, can sling it. I still think Tommy Stevens can sling it. So yeah, keep the text coming. 93662. Update from the Memorial Cup. They're in the first period of play. London scored on the power play. They're up on Medicine Hat. 1-0. Big game. The winner goes to the final. Then you get the rest. Like Don Hewitt and I were talking about. It's what you want when it comes to the Memorial Cup. Stars and Oilers. Tonight, about 6:15, they should drop the puck. I'm sure there's fights going on right now as we speak at the Moss Pit in Edmonton. Saskatchewan Roughrider training camp reports brought to you by the Red Zone Sports Bar behind the Saskatoon Travel Lodge. Dave Thomas is back in. He's putting in long days. Training camp is almost over, and then it's on to the regular season, Dave. Just to recap for people that weren't listening, Coach Mace did give us a little bit of an update on Sean McEwen.
Yeah, Sean McEwen underwent ACL surgery yesterday, and he spoke with him after he came out, was in recovery, but it's an ACL injury, and of course, surgery means that it's going to be a while, is what the Riders said, and of course, not the worst case scenario. You got to feel for the guy that was coming into Saskatchewan. They signed him off of after 8 years with Calgary and Toronto, and unfortunate that it happens the first patented practice up in Saskatoon.
Today, and then I asked you in hour one, and there's a lot of people driving home and, are out seeding and didn't catch hour one. Players that weren't on the field today.
It's the list, unfortunately, is starting to get longer. As, of course, Philippe Gagnon did not practice, nor did offensive lineman Eric Anderson, our second-round draft selection. He's dealing with a hip injury. Charbel DeBeer, of course, missed most of last season with a knee hurt. He tweaked it again. They're getting more imaging on him, so he did not participate again today. Nelson Lacombe was fairly active along the sidelines, but did not participate. Alex Gubner, who is a defensive lineman, who I thought played very well. He was actually in a walking boot today, so that's not good news. Linebacker Jameer Thurman didn't participate, nor did defensive lineman Shane Ray.
There's the rundown. You were saying today there were some packages. We heard the Tommy Stevens interview in hour two. People can go back and listen to that in the podcast if they want some short yardage packages, I guess, obviously for him. Some things. Probably a good day to work on stuff like that because it was so bloody windy.
Yeah, well, it was. And, I don't think that deterred or affected the Riders' plans at all for their practice today. But yeah, Tommy Stevens was given, it looked to me like a package designed for him, right? So he comes in and maybe he'll operate a play out of the shotgun. Maybe he'll have a receiver cutting underneath. Yeah, again, just different options. Obviously, the Riders aren't going to show absolutely everything that they're doing, but he was at the helm for some specialized plays that I would suggest would likely be used on short yardage situations.
You had a chance to catch up with OC Mark Mueller.
Yeah, well, second year on the job for the Regina native, and you know what, him and Corey Mace have got such great chemistry when it comes to working together, and they put their noses down over the offseason and made sure that they were able to maximize what they're able to bring into camp this year. And you hear that, you feel that from the players. Now, of course, didn't score a touchdown in the opening preseason game, so has that deterred him or not? Well, I wanted to get his feelings on everything that's happening with the offense and spoke with him after camp.
I know how meticulous you are in your preparation and for where you want to be. So are you there right now?
Oh, we're getting there. I think the guys are really working hard. And, the thing is, you never really get there, but you work as hard as you can to be in a place. And then the plays always evolve. You get different looks, different scenes, different reactions from the defense, that might not have thought of. So it was good. I mean, we're getting good things on film to teach from and learn from. And then hopefully when the Friday night, we can build on it.
When you're looking at that film, is it easier to evaluate a practice play or a live game film rep?
It's always better live. It's always better for the games because you know how guys truly react, whether they're reacting a different way because it's new defense to them or new offense to us. But you never get anything like live reps, and live reps are better for everyone, especially in the box.
I don't know how you kept it together last year. When you're starting 13 different offensive linemen, there's a lot of ho-hum, oh no, here we go again. And that might have happened after week one of camp when two veterans go down. But tell me about the offensive line that this team has and maybe some of the depth.
Yeah, I think that the big thing is that whoever's here, we trust them to play or else they wouldn't be here. And I think that Jeremy and Kyle and those guys do a really good job of getting us players that we think can play in the CFL. And if they're here and they're the next man up, they're in, and we trust those guys to play. You play with the guys you have, and you make sure that they can be the best versions of themselves. That's what coaches are for. If it wasn't for things like that, then we wouldn't need coaches, right? So, those guys work really hard. I really enjoy working with that group. I think they're very professional and very well tight knit, I guess would be the term. But I think those guys enjoy coming to work too, which makes a big difference for them as well.
Your quarterback room seems extremely tight-knit as well, and the word that you used was trust. And Trevor has talked about that, the trust that there is between quarterbacks and offensive coordinator. It obviously has to go two ways, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that you always want to be an extension of each other. I mean, I think that the person that gets looked towards the most other than the head coach is the quarterback. So the quarterback has to be an extension of not only the head coach and what he wants the team to be, but also we need to be extensions of each other when we're game planning and when we're running the plays.
I don't know how difficult of a job it is. Well, I do know how difficult of a job it is going to be when you have to decipher what you're going to do with your receiving core. But boy, you've got a very deep group, don't you?
Yeah, I think that's, it can be said about every position on the team, but especially, like you said, receiver and offense. Offense, we have good players and guys that have good camps. And, usually you play those 2 preseason games and it kind of, separates because there's nothing like, the live reps. You can kind of peek ahead and understand what plays are going to be ran that day in practice. But during the game, there's, you got the whole catalog worth of plays you can run. So, and you got to understand the tempo of the game. It's live. So that's why we have the preseason games.
The Canadian Air Force, that group of receivers really was its own era of Saskatchewan Roughrider football. You have a pretty good talent when it comes to Canadian receivers. How has that evolution gone, and what do you see from the group that's here?
Well, I think that the key about the group is that we just play the guys that give us, the 5 guys that give us the best chance to win. And I think whatever they are, whether it's Canadian or American or global guys or whatever it is, that those guys play well with each other and they accept a role and they kind of fit into it. And we try to move those guys around to keep them, in different spots as well. So I think that all those guys work really hard, and the evolution of that from us is just that we have the flexibility roster-wise to play the best guys.
So the last question when it comes to the receivers for me is that as a fan, I can see, okay, a guy made a play, he caught a pass, he's running far, he's doing well. What are you looking for that separates receivers from one another?
Well, I think for us, it's, a lot of it, we put a lot on our receivers mentally, but also physically as well. We block with our receivers quite a bit. So you can't just be the guy running, and catching corner routes or dig routes. That's a key part of it, obviously. It's a big part of the job. But, we talk about the pass game, it takes all 12 to get a guy open, especially in this league. It takes 12 guys to, the pass blocking, the quarterback, the back, those guys all doing the right thing, and then your guy next to you doing the right thing. So it's, are you sound? Are you in the right spot?
Some technical difficulty. I don't know if you could you hear that, Dave? You can't hear me. Yeah, we're efforting to fix. Let's just go to break here. We'll try and figure out our things. We'll play that Mueller interview in its entirety when we can. Still 1-0 at the Memorial Cup. London's up on Medicine Hat. It is the Sports Cage on this Tuesday for Saskatchewan Lotteries, streaming at sportscage.com. Sorry about that, the technical difficulties go along with live radio. That's okay, though, because we are going to play that Mark Mueller interview that Dave had a chance to talk to him in its entirety right now.
I know how meticulous you are in your preparation and for where you want to be, so are you there right now?
Oh, we're getting there. I think the guys are really working hard. And, the thing is, you never really get there, but you work as hard as you can to be in a place. And then the plays always evolve. You get different looks, different scenes, different reactions from the defense, they might not have thought of. So it was good. I mean, we're getting good things on film to teach from and learn from, and then hopefully when the Friday night we can build on it.
When you're looking at that film, is it easier to evaluate a practice play or a live game film rep?
It's always better live. It's always better for the games because you know how guys truly react, whether they're reacting a different way because it's new defense to them or new offense to us. But you never get anything like live reps, and live reps are better for everyone, especially in the box.
I don't know how you kept it together last year when you're starting 13 different offensive linemen. There's a lot of ho hum, oh no, here we go again. And that might have happened after week 1 of camp when 2 veterans go down. But tell me about the offensive line that this team has and maybe some of the depth.
Yeah, I think that the big thing is that whoever's here, we trust them to play or else they wouldn't be here. And I think that Jeremy and Kyle and those guys do a really good job of getting us players that we think can play in the CFL. And if they're here and they're the next man up, they're in, and we trust those guys to play. You play with the guys you have, and you make sure that they can be the best versions of themselves. That's what coaches are for. If it wasn't for things like that, then we wouldn't need coaches, right? So, those guys work really hard. I really enjoy working with that group. I think they're very professional and very well tight knit, I guess would be the term. But I think those guys enjoy coming to work too, which makes a big difference for them as well.
Your quarterback room seems extremely tight knit as well, and the word they used was trust. And Trevor has talked about that, the trust that there is between quarterbacks and offensive coordinator. It obviously has to go 2 ways, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that you always want to be an extension of each other. I mean, I think that the person that gets looked towards the most other than the head coach is the quarterback. So the quarterback has to be an extension of not only the head coach and what he wants the team to be, but also we need to be extensions of each other when we're game planning and when we're running the plays.
I don't know how difficult of a job it is. Well, I do know how difficult of a job it is going to be when you have to decipher what you're going going to do with your receiving core, but boy, you've got a very deep group, don't you?
Yeah, I think that's, it can be said about every position on the team, but especially, like you said, receiver and offense. Offense, we have good players and guys that have good camps, and usually you play those 2 preseason games and it kind of separates, because there's nothing like the live reps. You can kind of peek ahead and understand what plays are going to be ran that day in practice, but during the game there's you got the whole catalog worth of plays you can run, and you got to understand the tempo of the game. It's live, so that's why we have the preseason games.
The Canadian Air Force, that group of receivers really was its own era of Saskatchewan Roughrider football. You have a pretty good talent when it comes to Canadian receivers. How has that evolution gone, and what do you see from the group that's here?
Well, I think that the key about the group is that we just play the guys that give us, the 5 guys that give us the best chance to win. And I think whatever they are, whether it's Canadian or American or global guys or whatever it is, that those guys play well with each other and they accept a role and they kind of fit into it. And we try to move those guys around to keep them, in different spots as well. So I think that all those guys work really hard, and the evolution of that from us is just that we have the flexibility roster-wise to play the best guys.
So the last question when it comes to the receivers for me is that, as a fan, I can see, okay, a guy made a play, he caught a pass, he's running far, he's doing well. What are you looking for that separates receivers from one another?
Well, I think for us, it's a lot of it. We put a lot on our receivers mentally, but also physically as well. We block with our receivers quite a bit, so you can't just be the guy running, and catching corner routes or dig routes. That's a key part of it. Obviously, it's a big part of the job. But we talk about the pass game. It takes all 12 to get a guy open. Especially in this league, it takes 12 guys to the pass blocking, the quarterback, the back. Those guys all doing the right thing, and then your guy next to you doing the right thing. So it's are you sound? Are you in the right spots? Can the quarterback depend on you? And then can we depend on you to block?
So if everything goes right, what do you want to see on Friday night when it comes to execution and evaluation from your unit?
Yeah, the biggest thing, I think we just want to be able, just like any game, you want to be able to stay on the field longer. I mean, we had a couple, 3 2-and-outs in that game, so we want to make sure that we can get, because the hardest thing is that first down. You get that first down, you can kind of get into a rhythm. The more chances you have to score because you have more plays, so we try to get more plays, the better, so just to sustain some drives, especially early.
Coach, appreciate this.
Yeah, thank you.
I am looking forward to year 2, the whole coaching staff, especially for Mark Mueller with the guys. I think a lot of you out there are as well. More texts coming in, just people about Harris, how much Harris and the starters will play. Joy says, I wouldn't play him. Yeah, maybe they won't. I don't know, but I think they will, because they got to get some of that offensive line, the starters in there. Kev says at least a quarter, maybe a half, like Don said. Yeah, you can have your say, 936-6262, Prairieland Rentals text line. Thanks to everyone. That's bearing with us here. We got a couple of problems and some wires. That's okay, though. Let's go into the sports ticker.
It's time for the Sports Ticker, brought to you by Extreme Hockey and Sports. Whatever your sport is, Extreme Hockey has you covered.
Memorial Cup, 1 minute, 51 seconds remaining in the first period of play. Medicine Hat is going on to the power play. They trail the London Knights 1-0. Big game at the Memmer. NHL tonight, speaking of big games, Oiler fans, you're jacked. Stars Oilers. Game number 4. Carolina, how about them staying alive last night against the Panthers? Big news out of the Olympics. I think a lot of us expected this, but now it's official. Russia will not compete. France will take their spot when it comes to ice hockey at next winter's Olympics. PWHL, Minnesota, back-to-back champs. Another 2-1 overtime game yesterday over Ottawa. All 4 games in the best of 5 were 2-1 overtime games. That's parity. Exciting to watch there. PWHL, Minnesota's back-to-back. Blue Jays back in Texas tonight playing hardball, trying to make it 2 in a row. Regina Red Sox, their home opener. We talked to the head coach in hour 1, coming up Thursday at Curry Field versus Swift Current. Apparently, we will be live on location with this show there today. Great concession. We'll fire up. NBA tonight, Knicks Pacers with Indiana up 2-1. Did the Knicks even it up? Or Indiana too much, Sheriff?
I can see the Knicks tying it up because I don't know. I don't have much faith in Tyrese Halliburton, his dad coming back. I don't know. I just feel like it's bad luck. It's good. It's a good story that he's back, that now he's able to attend games. But, like, I don't know. I just find bad juju, in my opinion.
Bad juju.
Yeah.
I like that. Hey, we got a text message here. I think it's something that Benny Walchuk did. First off, Sports Ticker. Thanks to Steelcraft Doors, Regina, Sports Ticker sponsor. Alan, you do a lot of writing for the website. You're very good at it. We just got a text message on the Prairie Land Rentals text message from Travis saying, I read the article about officials. I appreciate you guys writing that. It's a job that generally goes underappreciated, so when it does happen, means a lot. That was Benny Walchuk that fired up that one. So thanks for the text message. Trevor on the Prairie Land Rentals text line. Looks like it's going to go 1-0 London into the first intermission at the Memorial Cup. It is the Sports Cage on Tuesdays for Saskatchewan Lotteries, the main fundraiser for sport, culture, and recreation in our province. We'll come back. We're going to hear again from Tommy Stevens, Rough Rider quarterback. It's the Sports Cage streaming at sportscage.com and on 620 CKRM. Okay, I lied. I did it. I put a sprinkle down on tonight's Dallas Stars Oilers game. Not going to jinx it by saying what I bet, but I did. On the money line, Dallas is plus 125. That over under at 6. Stuart Skinner, he has looked really good. Does that bubble burst at some point, or is he gonna ride it? And is Dallas just outmatched in this series? Interesting watch tonight. That is for sure in game number 4. They're into the first intermission of the Memorial Cup, and it's still 1-0 London. Tomorrow on the pro. If you missed anything today, go back and listen to it in podcast form. Arash Madani, head coach of the Regina Red Sox, Rye Pothakos. They open up Thursday, Curry Field. Glen Suitor was good. Training camp reports with Dave Thomas. You can listen to it all. Tomorrow, Maz is in, and we'll be going out. Training camp report. Eric Francis will be back in. Eric Francis is covering that Edmonton-Dallas series, so that'll always be fun. And see what kind of tarp he's wearing tomorrow. If you missed it earlier, training camp reports. We talked to Tommy Stevens. I said, I want to see this guy sling the ball this year at some point. I know he's a big man. But Dave Thomas did have a chance to catch up with Tommy Stevens at camp today.
Tommy, the smile on your face can't be replaced to be out on the field in Regina. What is it like bringing training camp back home to Mosaic Stadium?
Yeah, it's. I feel like the place gets nicer every time I'm here. So glad to call it home now. It's a beautiful stadium with people in it, obviously, but even without, this is the first time being in here without it, and it's just as nice. Blown away by everything. It's top down, first class organization. It's all been great. So very very thankful to be here and happy to be a part of it.
You're a couple of weeks into your tenure as being a Saskatchewan Roughrider. What has your overall impression been, especially when you've gone through camp in Saskatoon?
Well, you hear from guys in the league that have been here, former teammates obviously that I've had in the past that just rave about the place. But it's really hard to describe it without being here and actually feeling it. And so, I came in with high expectations, and from everything that everybody's already told me, and still blown away by how great everything is. I've got nothing to complain about. So it's been great, man.
You told us when you signed that you were here to compete as a quarterback. You can throw the ball. We've seen that. We've seen the athleticism in your tapes all over the place. How has that progression gone with Mark Mueller and the offense and getting acclimatized to that?
Yeah, it's, obviously it's going to take some, I guess what we like to call growing pains, because it's been a while. I haven't spent a lot of time running the offense, even though that I've been in it for 4 years now. It's obviously a little bit different when you're actually running it, and so there's been a couple practices where you unfortunately throw the ball right to the other team, and you kind of just got to go through that kind of stuff. But it's good to get those things out of the way and learn from them, right? So all in all, I think that it's been a really productive camp. I think it's been my favorite camp so far in the CFL, and I feel like I've grown a lot from it so far.
You talk about learning and growth. Your opportunity came late in the fourth quarter, down by 6 points. ice cold. Well, maybe not ice cold. You got in on a couple of plays before that. What's it like coming off the bench into that situation?
It's just here we go. You don't really get to choose your hand, right? So that was the opportunity that was given. Tried to make the most of it. Obviously, we came up a little bit short, but we were able to put some things on tape, and all in all, obviously there's a lot to learn from. But those experiences mean something, even if it's just a preseason game. It was important to me. Guys on the team, we wanted to win, and going to bring the same energy again this weekend. Hopefully, come out with a win.
The stats that you released on your third down efficiency are through the roof. How do you get so good at that when you really can't practice it?
I think it's just all around buy-in from the unit. I think that everybody needs to buy in, because all it takes is one guy to mess up on his job for the play to be a disaster. So yeah, I think that the coaches that we had in the past were able to put us in a good situation as far as the short yardage. But at the end of the day, it all came down to execution, and I thought that we did a very good job for my tenure there, and hoping to build off of that here.
It's very evident the chemistry that you and Jake Mayer have. You can see it on the field, throwing the rock around, talking with one another. But how is it building with the other two, Jack Cohn and Trevor Harris?
I think it's been awesome getting to know both of them. They've both been very welcoming to us. They welcomed us with open arms, and I think that in order to have a successful quarterback room, you need to be able to throw ideas at each other, help out, give your insight when asked. Obviously, you don't want to come in as the new guy and start talking too much, right? But that's been a really good thing that Trevor and Jack both have opened that door for us to share our opinions. And because at the end of the day, it's pro football, right? We've all had similar experiences, different paths, but I know both those guys have both played big time football, and just being able to help, having a healthy room is obviously important, not only for our room, but for the offensive unit and all around our whole team. So it's been great.
As we inch closer to the regular season, then what does Tommy Stevens need to do to be ready?
Keep taking it day by day. We got practice tomorrow, so just been worrying about that.